Do you remember the first thing I said to you?
I think you said, I feel like I've known you my whole life.
And what did you think about that?
That kid's on acid.
I feel like we started feeling bored with live bands and we just needed to do something even more extreme.
What Dadabots are doing here is really different, and it's kind of shocking.
You know, I was always tired of all the humans in those bands. If only we could just get rid of those humans.
I think that's when we decided we needed to eliminate humans from music. Hey, what's up? I'm CJ.
Hey, I'm Zach.
We are Dadabots. Zach, you and I have a very similar background.
It's true. We're like clones. We both wanted to grow up to be Hendrix.
And we're both into extreme sports.
Oh yeah. I was into falling off my skateboard.
I was into bashing my knees doing parkour. And one thing I really appreciated about seeing you live, Zach, is that you have an insane stage presence.
Oh God, I try to take drumming to the intensity level that a skateboarder would take their sport to.
I also took mosh pits to the level that a parkour free runner would.
And your throat singing is wild in your earth metal band.
Yeah, being a screamer in a metal band is incredible. I also tried to have like maximum stage presence, just crawling into the audience, grabbing people and screaming.
Nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe. We're both really into dangerous music, which is why we started Dadabots. And we weren't just into live music, we were also into electronic music, psychedelic music with Ableton. You were making...
Oh man, like noise, punk, rap, honestly just blending anything together that I found as an influence, just trying to smash it in some way that it had never been configured before.
So in high school, you were touring in your punk band.
Oh yeah, I would miss like 30 days a year. People would wonder if I still, ever came to science class and be like, oh, sorry, I was playing guitar.
Lucky. And you had an early programming experience with Maximus P.
Yeah, a couple workshops. I used to just go to take classes for fun, no degree focus at all. I went to like Goldsmiths University, Oberlin, and just really got into learning how to wire things together to make crazy noises.
Zach, when we first met as interns at Berklee College of Music, do you remember the first thing I said to you?
I think you said, I feel like I've known you my whole life.
And what did you think about that?
I was like, oh, cool. Good to meet you, man. Later, I walked away. I was like, that kid's on acid.
For the record, I wasn't on acid, like, that day. But in general, yes. We had so much time to kill as interns.
Yeah, all we did was listen to our favorite bands, Krallice, Dillinger Escape Plan, Vaetxh, Igorrr, Converge. Just sit there and, skill swap, learn what the other person's mind consisted of and just implant it into our brains.
I don't know, I feel like we started feeling bored with live bands and feeling bored with the DAW, and we just needed to do something even more extreme.
Yeah, I was definitely hitting a limit of live performance. I was touring all the time, but You know, I was always tired of all the humans in those bands. If only we could just get rid of those humans, you know? Even myself. If I could replace myself from the DAW process, even better.
Right, I think that's when we decided we needed to eliminate humans from music. The year was 2012. Massard kids just started throwing apocalypse parties. Deep learning wasn't a thing yet, and colleges just started throwing hackathons, which is where Dadabots started, at Music Hack Day MIT. Our project's mission? Destroying SoundCloud with music remix bots.
So enter Dadabots, socially automated Dadaist music remix bots. It's a platform for artificial artists. Except artificial artists, it's not really like that. You know, it's more like that. But possibilities are endless.
So yeah, tyrannical use cases of this, flooding trackathons and remix contests. I'm making fake artists, like, I'd be like SoundCloud bots that just spit out music.
Our bots spider SoundCloud for tracks, automatically remix them with an algorithm, post them, comment on the original, and do this hundreds of times a day. They did it so frequently they got banned. So here are the bots. The first bot I made was called Phased and Confused. So while we were interns, Zack was teaching me about signal processing. And a really good experiment to learn signal processing is to build an extreme time stretcher. Take music and stretch it 800 times larger. The first way to attempt to do this is with a spectrogram and just stretching a magnitude spectrogram and randomizing the phase. This is very naive because it mirrors out percussion and you don't hear drum transients anymore. The next step up from that in your journey is to use a phase vocoder. And so a phase vocoder is more phase aware. It's able to model the phase. And suddenly you realize that it's the derivative of the phase that matters and not the absolute phase. So by keeping consistent the derivative of the phase, you're able to keep these pure sine waves. And so harmony stays consistent. And secondarily, to keep percussion consistent, you don't stretch the transients and you stretch everything else in between. So then you keep harmony and percussion consistent. And just through the process of trying to make this algorithm, you suddenly understand what's going on with audio at the low fundamental level. You realize music is just sines, transients, and noise. So Zack, tell us about Autochiptune.
It splits a song into harmony and percussion. In the spectrogram, the harmony is the horizontal lines and percussion is vertical lines. So you can just split those out. Then we take the percussion, once it's split, and we bit crush it. The harmony is reconstructed by bending the spectrogram in pitches and resynthesizing them with NES, like triangle and square waves.
Oh yeah, and this was our most popular bot. It got banned frequently. And it was inspired by our mentor, Brian McPhee.
Oh, Brian's the creator of this awesome Python library called Librosa. It's used ubiquitously in AI research. Brian was like an early mentor for us, and we teamed up with him at hackathons.
So the song we're listening to here, your song, Zack, Crypto Blues. What is Crypto Blues?
Oh, I think I was singing through a bunch of guitar pedals. Maybe an electro harmonics harmonizer. Effects that were resynthesized through this bot. And I wrote the song when I had just lost a bunch of money in crypto. I don't often sing the blues, but it was a moment I needed to.
The remix we're listening to here, this is Autochiptune remixing your song, Zack, Crypto Blues. So how does it feel now hearing those raw emotions just remixed through a bot which has no emotions?
Brings me back to that place where I was just worshiping the biblical demon of wealth, Mammon.
Mammon? Wait.
Represented in the art there. It's a big crushed version of an image of Mammon.
Do you worship Mammon?
I was pursuing the worship of Mammon for a bit. Yeah, I think crypto was my foray into worshiping him.
This next spot is called Backwards Weave. So it splits the song up into chunks and sort of does this backwards weave pattern. We do it with the title, we do it with the music as well. And the song here that it remixed is called The Universal Declaration of Awesome.
The stairs and elevator-equipped buildings, the freedom to act in opposition to comfort, pleasure, and rationality, the right to adapt to one situation and maximize happiness.
Article 2.
The right.
So The Universal Declaration of Awesome is a song I wrote during a period of my life where I was living in New Zealand, hanging out at the philosophy department at the University of Canterbury, just thinking a lot about Plato and Camus and Alan Watts and Kurzweil and transhumanism, and thinking about how technology could augment creativity. And I just had so many feelings welling up, I had to write it all down into a declaration. Totally read the lyrics. This kind of mentality led to the formation of Dadabots. And here is the bot totally fucking this song up. Next spot is called Bonafide Slideglide Ride. It takes sections of the music and pitch bombs it into oblivion until it sounds absolutely nothing like the original.
Remix the other bots, get into like a remix war. It's just the beginning.
So this song is a remix of a mashup of a mashup. Okay, a mashup is when you take different songs and you stick them together. A smash up is when you take dozens of songs and squish it all together into a minute of chaos. So I did that as for the original track here. Then Bonafide Slideglide Ride remixed that even further into oblivion. And what's amazing is that it's been remixed so far that you don't even hear any semblance of the original tracks that were in the first mashup. This next spot's called chopshopshockshack. Am I saying that right?
Chopshopshockshack.
Chopshopshockshack.
Here's chopshopshockshack. It has more views than my SoundCloud has, actually.
Wait, how does it work?
Does a structural analysis of all the beats, and it just tries to dissociate them by bringing in similar sounding tones and replacing the beats with other beats from the song. We were listening to a lot of hyperglitch like Vaetxh and trying to figure out how the hell did he make this music? Was it algorithms? Could we make it with algorithms?
I really thought he was using algorithms to make it. I mean, it sounds so dense.
Yeah, the work is so tedious to do it manually. I thought there's no way this is all by hand, but turns out it was.
Yeah, we met him later. He's like, I did it by hand. Impressive. But it, like, hearing that inspired us to even get into algorithms, which is really kind of interesting.
Laziness, yeah, mother of invention there.
We met him later in life, and he was also trying to use algorithms to do it. He got also just as lazy as us. Here we're remixing a Vaetxh song.
Took way too much time to make this music, but this algorithm is especially built for this kind of music, and it really shines when it remixes that style.
Classic machine learning era. In 2012, no one knew the power of neural nets yet. Even my professor of artificial intelligence was super, super skeptical. And I was taking his class, and he was like, neural nets, they're not gonna work. We tried them for decades, since the 80s, and no success. He was highly skeptical that anything could happen in AI. And I'm like, why am I taking this class? I instantly dropped it. I'm like, okay, I gotta take this on myself, because I feel like we really are on the brink of something really, really cool here with generative AI and music. And I'm not gonna let my professor stop me. So I took it on myself to learn classical machine learning. Many of our first experiments used the EchoNest Remix API, which was the first Python library that you could just give it a song and it would break it down into its sections, into individual beats and notes, and let you rearrange that into remixes. And it was created by Tristan Jahan, who did his PhD at the MIT Media Lab. And his PhD thesis, Creating Music by Listening, was my Bible. I read that shit. So Tristan Jahan's thesis explained basically how to make an automatic DJ. And there was an automatic DJ competition coming. So Zack and I entered, and we used a lot of the knowledge from this thesis to build an automatic DJ called Junglebot that would mix jungle music. And we actually won first prize. 38% of the audience thought it was a real DJ. And we walked away with $2,000, which we used to continue our menacing research. Despite my naysaying professor, deep learning and neural nets had their moment in 2015. And for me, that moment was when I saw Gene Kogan's experiments in style transfer. He took the Mona Lisa and re-rendered it with neural nets in the style of Picasso, Van Gogh, and Monet. And when I saw this, my mind was absolutely blown. And I knew that I had to just quit my job and focus entirely on this. What happens when style transfer is that you start with two images, a style image and a composition image. And we use gradient descent to make a third image, which has the properties of the both. The composition image takes the broad strokes, and then the style image multiplies with itself to remove the broad strokes and just leave the statistics of these textures in the style. And by optimizing both of these things, you create a fusion image, which is a style transfer. The fates had their way, because while I was practicing parkour, I tore my PCL. I couldn't walk for months and months and months. The only thing I could do was put my leg up on the couch and do nerd shit. Every good project starts with a joke. And for me, I couldn't get out of my head Pizzafire. This vision of a fire in the style of pepperoni and cheese. I knew if I could just make this come into existence, I'll have achieved the skills of using neural nets to make art. So I self-studied. I looked at white papers on Archive. I was looking at code on GitHub. I was following all the professors on Twitter just to get enough sufficient knowledge just to figure out even how to do this. To make an animation, you're generating lots of images. And to even generate one image with style transfer is so overkill. So I spent my winnings on cloud credits to rent GPUs at 65 cents an hour. And each image took 12 minutes. So to make an animation of hundreds of frames, I had to rent several GPUs. So I had to make a way of spinning up multiple computers in the cloud at once. And this is called distributed computing. So I had to add a script, and it ran in a Python notebook, and it would spin up 20 to 30 machines in the cloud, each with a GPU, render individual frames on a queue, and then at the end, stick it all together into a GIF. And this was Pizzafire. It's beautiful. Look at the Pizzafire in all its glory.
Oh gosh, seeing the texture of one painting or artist transposed onto another, I realized we're so close to doing this with music. And once we can just use genre as the new means of composition, and you just throw whatever styles together, it's like game over. That's going to be like the next thing to do with experimental music.
Pizzafire was just our beginning. We took these same principles of image neural nets and applied them to music. On Bandcamp, we made the first 100% neural synthesized black metal album called Code Dignity of Timeness. On YouTube, we made the first 24/7 generative neurosynthesis live stream, Relentless Doppelganger, that's been streaming technical death metal nonstop for 4 years. We've got to work with a lot of mega cool artists, like Reeps won the UK Beatbox Champion, where we made him a neural net beatboxer that he battles. And on Ethereum, we worked with Silverstein to make them the first band to monetize their style on-chain with AI, with a 50-50 royalty split. It's 2023, and AI music is just getting started. There's even more extreme music to be made, and the tools are quickly becoming cheap and accessible for everybody. The fire of Prometheus has been lit. What do you think will happen next?